The Eagles just won in dominant fashion over Kansas City. They lost by only a field goal to the Chiefs, if you remember, 2 years ago in the Super Bowl II. Yet still, a division rival of the Eagles, which would be the Cowboys, and their quarterback Dak Prescott believe they are closer than we might think to competing at the same level. What say you, Dak Prescott?
I feel like we compete with the Eagles and beat them for the most part when we've played them. I don't want to say check the record when they're the guys holding the trophy right now, so credit to them. They've earned it and they deserved it by all means. But, yeah, very close, especially when you even watch the NFC game, the NFC Championship. And those two teams that we battle against each and every year a couple of times. And as I said, feel confident about we've gotten the better part each and every time. To see it in such a dominating fashion, credit to them. It's our turn and it's on us.
Dominant fashion. Eagles beat the Cowboys twice this year by a combined score of 75-13. Nonetheless, Jeff Saturday is here now. Stephen A., I'm going to go back to you. Delusional or confident is Dak Prescott with that statement?
Well, clearly delusional. We know this. This is Dak Prescott. When has he not been delusional? I mean, we've seen evidence of this time and time again from this guy. I will give him credit for this, though. I want to thank Dak Prescott because I happen to care about my brethren in print media. That's where my career originated in print media. And I want to thank Dak Prescott for giving them material. I mean, I really, really appreciate it because, you know, the job can get boring when you don't get material. And when you have a star quarterback for a team that has been inept, moribund, unproductive, non-succeeding, etc., and your star quarterback, who unjustifiably is the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League, continues to run his mouth in inexplicable fashion, I have to acknowledge that, you know, at least the journalists benefit from it. So I got to thank him for that. I really, really do. Now, as for the team itself, I mean, respectfully, he just needs to go someplace and be quiet. The fact of the matter is that right now, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions are in the NFC East. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. The team they beat to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC Championship game are the Washington Commanders, who has a offensive rookie of the year in Jaden Daniels, who was nothing short of sensational. By the way, in that NFC Championship game, Jeff Saturday, correct me if I'm wrong, Jaden Daniels, the rookie, was the one who showed up. It was the veterans that were dropping passes, fumbling the ball, you know, committing turnovers, etc. The rookie showed up, okay? Yep. He's not going anywhere. And so we have a situation where Dak Prescott is entering his 10th year. And a guy that was drafted in the second round has been to 2 Super Bowls and won one now. And a rookie has been to an NFC Championship game in his first year. But Dak Prescott's been in the league for 10 years and ain't been to one NFC Championship game. But he talking. You would think that you wouldn't be so tone deaf, that you would have the decency to recognize your position and say, I might need to shut the hell up. It just might be the wise thing for me to do.
I'm going to give Prescott a little break.
Sure.
I know. I mean, it was a cancer fund outing. Right. I mean, he's the star. He's got to answer a million questions. The Eagles in the NFC East. Okay. Well, I didn't know that either, Stevie. I was just going by the background that I saw at the cut. I saw the word cancer, so he must have been in some. Right. So I'm going to give the kid a little break. You're 100% right. And what is there to echo? He never wins in a postseason. The Eagles have been to 2 Super Bowls. Ooh. Washington gets to a championship game. Daniels is better than he is. So I understand. I mean, it looks silly to say that. But, you know, the problem with you, the Cowboy quarterback, is everywhere you go, and it's very, you know, infrequently where you meet the media in the offseason, you got to answer 3,000 questions.
Well, that's for sure.
Now, what's the first question they're going to ask you? What's the Eagles winning?
Right.
What's he going to say? Yeah, we stink. They won. He's in a tricky spot.
Yeah.
And he's getting paid $60 million a year.
That's right.
So he's in a tricky spot. It's almost a layup to beat him up.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I think I'll take a pass. Saturday.
Dougie and Jeff, I just want to emphasize, I had no idea that it was a cancer event. I didn't see that in the background. I had no idea. I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
You
know, no, absolutely, Steve. I shouldn't have even said it. I just saw the cancer thing. So did Jeff behind you.
And I think from you know, and that's Stephen A. We all agree. Like this is, I didn't have a problem with him saying, yeah, we're right there at the cusp. You're the star of your football team. You got to bring some life to your locker room. My problem was when he was like, yeah, check the record or whatever it was. Check it. I was like, I mean, you were 12-5 3 years in a row. I'll go back and look at those records. But the last year's record definitely didn't want to go back and check that. I know they beat Washington, but that had nothing to do with this comment. I think for Dak, he's trying to generate energy. Obviously, you lose your head coach. You hire from within, Schottenheimer. He's trying to sell the franchise. The truth of all of it, and Stephen A., you and I have talked about it all season. Doggy, you have as well. This is out of his hands. The truth is, without Jerry and Steven stepping up big time this offseason, they'll be the third best, maybe the fourth, depending on what the Giants do, in their division. That's a problem because Philly ain't going anywhere. Washington's only getting better. They're going to retool. They got a bunch of money. If you're Dallas, you have now watched two teams in your own division, supplant you, but they are in a position to continue. You got it, and it's Jerry and Steven. They're going to have to go get some. They got to get some linemen. They got to get D linemen, offensive linemen. They got to get a receiver, a running back. There's a lot to do that's out of Dak's hands. And irrespective of how well you think he can play, if they go in armed like last year, it's going to be a disaster.
By the way, I just learned he was at the Children's Cancer Fund Gala. That's where he was given, so he did have to speak, obviously. Yeah. So it's apropos, definitely so. But the other point, back to football, Jalen Hurts has as many Super Bowl appearances as Dak Prescott has playoff wins.
Oof.
Yeah,
that's painful.
It's a good point, Steve. You're right.
And the Eagles have won 3 Super Bowls, one with a backup quarterback, and they've been to two since then with Hurts, 1-1 loss.
All of this has happened
not going anywhere.
since Dak. All of this has happened since Dak Prescott has been in Dallas. Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl. Yeah. Jalen Hurts has lost and won a Super Bowl.
After seeing Pittsburgh as a potential new home for Rodgers, Steelers safety DeShon Elliott posted this. This isn't great. Leave his ass at the retirement home. Okay, that's since been deleted, by the way. But nonetheless, those are some strong comments from maybe a potential future teammate. And so, Stephen A., I ask you first, what do you make of such comments?
I respect DeShon Elliott. I like him on the Steelers, but he might need to keep his mouth shut. Leave that to Mike Tomlin. Let Mike Tomlin say that. Let one of the executives say that. Or if you're going to let a player say it, let it be somebody like a T.J. Watt. I think if it was T.J. Watt, I think all of us would stand down. You understand? Because we know what that brother brings to the table. DeShon Elliott saying it, listen, Aaron Rodgers isn't the Aaron Rodgers. He isn't that bad man anymore. He has not been. But some would argue he's better than Russell Wilson. Some would look at his accuracy passing the football, the potential that still exists, etc., and would say, hey, he could do some things. I'm the Steelers. I don't summarily dismiss the possibility of an Aaron Rodgers. I need 2 things if I'm the Steelers. I need another wide receiver opposite George Pickens, and I need that quarterback. And if and by the way, I need the receiver more than I need the quarterback, Jeff Saturday, doggy, because they've already shown me that with just Pickens, that's not going to be enough no matter who the quarterback is. And so I'm looking at it from that standpoint, not to say that it's more important than the quarterback in all actuality. I'm just saying in the Steelers situation, you need a couple of weapons. You got Freiermuth at the tight end spot. You got dual threats in the backfield with Harris and Warren. But you need a quarterback, but you also need a wide receiver. I just don't think that DeShon Elliott should have said what he said. I don't think he's in a position, respectfully, to say that kind of stuff.
Listen, they fell apart late in the year. Wilson didn't play well. Fields isn't the answer. You might get Devontae Adams in a package deal if you bring Rodgers in. So there's your other receiver. I'm actually surprised. I know Aaron Glenn's the new sheriff in town. He can do what he wants. I'm actually surprised the Jets unceremoniously, and that's what it was. They got him out of. Who's going to play quarterback for the Jets? What, Tyrod Taylor? Who's going to, and this is New York City. They want to win some games. I mean, they're going to be, I know this year was a disaster for Rodgers, don't get me wrong, but there are other factors in play here. They fired the coach. The new coach wasn't ready. There's other things. I thought maybe you should have brought Rodgers back myself. Yeah. I don't know who's going to play. They're not bringing Sam Darnold in here, right. All right? The Kirk Cousins, I mean, why would they do that? They just signed him off the Achilles.
Hell no.
Right. Now, they're not bringing him in. Tyrod Taylor's going to be your answer. You're going to win 4 or 5 games. They don't have a high enough pick to get one of the 2 quarterbacks if they want one of those 2 guys. So I would have thought he would have been a good bridge to the
What
next
if you swap
quarterback.
and you get Russell Wilson?
What are you
That's
accomplishing now? Wilson's
I
not
don't know.
22. He's 35 years old, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised. And I'll tell you right now, if you told me if I'm a Steeler fan I can have Rodgers and Adams over, say, Fields and Wilson, I'll do that because I think I'd be a better team.
Yeah, I think the thing because of what happened, the culture that happened and the assignment of why the culture broke down as quickly as it did in New York was laid at the feet of Aaron Rodgers. We're kind of missing the point of what the type of season he had, right? In the last 10 games, he had 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He had just under 4,000 yards. I'm pretty sure he may even had 4,000. He's close, whatever it is. So when you think about the production from the quarterback position, if you feel like your team is just that position away or you need a bridge, he's going to be the guy that some teams are going to take a shot on. I think the issue with Aaron Glenn is he's trying to create a culture. And,
yes,
and that is
exactly.
that's not what you can have in your locker. You can't have two heads. Can't happen that way. So that wasn't going to work. I don't blame him for that part. Well, the problem for me with the Steelers thing, I'm just going to say this because the Adams, I'm not sure if that works the way we all think it's going to work. It takes time for Aaron to get in sync with his receivers. And we saw that. I mean, he goes to the Jets and basically Adams replaces their young star who is everybody's expecting a massive season out of, right? So if you're going in and you're Pittsburgh, are we going to allow Pickens to be the guy and then bring in someone else to help? And now Aaron's there to develop because they don't do a great job with that. I understand Aaron's going to be productive because he's a good quarterback and he'll figure it out. But it's the development of your team. That's the part that Tomlin's going to have to decide whether it works or not. And here's the other part I would say. Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin both understand the division they play in with the dual threat quarterbacks that are present, and they got to figure that part out. I know you say you don't like Justin Fields, but the one thing he brings, if you get him another receiver and you get him an ability to push the ball down the field and say, hey, handcuffs are off, man. We'll take the interceptions if we have to, but you got to push the ball down the field. I'm not sure they don't go that direction, and Russell Wilson ends up with the Raiders with Pete Carroll. That would be kind of the way I would see that.
When I think about Russell Wilson compared to Aaron Rodgers, for the purposes of the Steelers portion of this discussion, I think about Russell Wilson looking to come to Pittsburgh to resurrect a career and potentially find a home or move on, whether it's finding a home in Pittsburgh or somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is it for Aaron Rodgers. This is the swan song.
That's right.
Whether it's a year or two, it's over. And so that buys you a little bit of time to put Justin Fields around another veteran who played at an elite level for a very long time to learn from. That's the Steelers side of it. When it comes to the Jets, I think we learned something that we may not have known. We learned that Aaron Rodgers was the guy, whether you like it or not, that caused some problems. I don't mean intentionally. Yeah. I'm not talking about he was mouthing off or whatever. What I'm saying is for Aaron Glenn to roll up in there, to be a defensive-minded coach, to be fixated on making sure that defense is everything it was ballyhooed to be and was supposed to be. And one of the first moves he makes is to say, nah, we're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Yep.
That's saying that whether true or not, in all fairness to Aaron Rodgers, they clearly believe he would be an impediment to what they're trying to achieve and establish. And remember also that Woody Johnson purportedly was in the news months ago when he first, took over the reins. He wanted Saleh to consider benching Aaron Rodgers. Those were the reports. And obviously Saleh disagreed, and ultimately he ended up out the door. I'm not saying that was the only reason he was out the door, but that was something. So taking all of those things into consideration, for Glenn to roll up in there, Woody Johnson clearly wants this. Glenn clearly has no problem with it because he's accepted the head coaching job and he understands what he's trying to do because he knows that he'll be out of this quick, soon, and in a hurry if he doesn't win as well. For Aaron Rodgers, for them to say, we don't want you back, and they don't appear to have a backup plan, is the ultimate indictment against a veteran quarterback.
Well, he does suck all the oxygen out of the room. I think we all agree with that. It's hard to develop that culture when Rodgers is there. He's on, he's on all the shows.
Right.
He's got a lot to say, and he's a magnet for the media. And he, in caves, and he says lots of crazy things.
Right.
So as a result of that, that does take a little focus away from the team. But I'll say this: bottom line is the Jets are not going to find a quarterback better than him.